Well, hello there. It's July 7th, 2025, 7/7, 2025. And I'm going to make this video because I just want to talk about July 4th and my feelings about the way this country's heading. And I made a video a while back that I didn't share publicly too much that was talking about me celebrating Canada Day and just feeling like giving up on the United States. It's very upsetting what's happened to our country. And let me say this has nothing to do with being a Democrat or being a Republican. It has to do with being a human with common sense. All right. Now, our country was founded on July 4th, 1776. That's why we celebrate Independence Day. And it was a difficult day for me because the, in the days prior, I saw the House, the Senate, and then the House pass Trump's big ugly bill. I'm not calling it a big beautiful bill because there's nothing beautiful about it. It's ugly. Um, and there's so many horrible things about this bill. First and foremost, all the cuts that are going to affect that could very well affect people like me. The cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, the social safety net, to give to the rich, to give to the richest people in this country. And where were the protests? I was upset because I didn't see any protests. And I made a whole video on July 4th that I scrapped because I was too angry. And so I'm kind of working on that video again when I'm in a calmer state. Some people like to see me angry. I don't want to come across as being angry. Though I am angry, obviously, rightfully so. But there were no protests. I mean, there were some, but I didn't see them mentioned that much. I didn't see any myself. You'd think that they would have had something like No King's Day. And when I made that video a while back, I said, when I spoke about No King's Day, I said, it's not enough. You're just protesting one day a month. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to convince anyone to change their mind. And the people in this country, unfortunately, a lot of them are just too, they just don't care. There's an epidemic of selfishness in this country. And honestly, you can't blame Trump for it. Trump is a byproduct of that. He's a byproduct of the selfishness and greed that has taken over this country. And I think it really came out in 2020 when we had the pandemic, which honestly caused so much societal damage, particularly in our country, that it will take decades and decades to recover from. Um, we approached it all wrong. You know how I feel about it. I know I get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. I think that the shutdowns, shutting things down, caused more harm in the long run than was necessary. I don't think that was a thing, anything we should have done. All right, and nobody really spoke out against it. Everybody kind of went along with all these shutdowns, and Trump was the president then, and he handled it terribly, but at the same time, he didn't really do enough to protect the fabric of society. These shutdowns caused tremendous damage that we have net to recover from. Some areas have recovered. Obviously, the South Shore here on Long Island has recovered and doing better than ever. But the middle of the island, we see our malls close earlier. The nightlife here is gone. We just don't have it anymore. Here in this part of Long Island, anyway, central Nassau County. So those were a big mistake. And ever since then, it seems like people got so distant from each other and so selfish, and they just don't think about how their actions affect others anymore. And that's why we saw Trump come back into power again, I think. Um, that's my own opinion about this, all right? And I know there are a lot of people out there that are Republicans. But as I said in the beginning of this video, it has nothing to do with being a Republican or Democrat. It has to with being an American or being what an American is supposed to be. All right, at least the kind of American that we should have, kind of American that's fair and looks out for everybody. But we don't see that anymore. It's very hard to find people like that anymore in this country. Um, and this bill, this horrible, big, ugly bill that goes against some really big Republican principles, it's going to put us in debt like we've never been in debt before. And the Republican Party is supposed to be about being conservative, which means reducing spending. All right. But all we're doing is we're taking money and we're giving it to the wealthy. That's all this bill is about, really. And it's also about giving more money to ICE to be the Gestapo. This is we have a Gestapo functioning in this country. Now, I'm against illegal immigration. You know that. Always have been. Um, but the problem is they're not rounding up illegals. What they're doing, and people will refuse to believe it, but we've seen so much proof of that, is they're taking legal immigrants that have legal status, stripping them of that status, and then using that to deport them. The illegals, they're still here. I see so many of them in my neighborhood, more than I ever have, hanging around, the beat up cars. I see them on the bus. There are so many of them. It's worse than it's ever been, honestly. So I don't want to hear, oh, they're not deporting them. And then they have these concentration camps they're putting them in. Which again, this all violates the law. It violates due process. But when does Trump ever care about due process? When does he ever care about the Constitution? He doesn't care about the Constitution. All right? He doesn't. So July 4th was a very difficult day for me. I went to the Pine Barrens on July 4th, and it was eerily quiet everywhere. I mean, I went to the Pine Barrens, and even the Pine Barrens were quiet. I didn't even hear the birds chirping that much. It was just unusually quiet, way quieter than it felt like a funeral. It really felt like a funeral. I had an old flag that I took with me that I put to rest in the woods because I was so upset that day, July 4th. It was hard to get into the mood to celebrate our independence because we don't really, we all the things that our forefathers who created this country, as well as all the people who have made the ultimate sacrifice and those who have fought for our country, to protect democracy, they're all being betrayed right now. So it was very hard for me to really get in the mood for the 4th of July. And after I did my walk in the Pine Barrens, I had something to eat. I did some more walking. And I wound up going to Lake Ronkonkoma. And there was a lot of people there at Lake Ronkonkoma. I went there originally, I was just going to look at the sunset and the smoke. And then I decided, let's see what kind of fireworks they'll shoot off along the lake. And I saw all kinds of people there, all races, together, and celebrating the 4th of July. I'm like, yeah, this feels like the 4th of July. This feels like Independence Day. So I was just enjoying the fireworks there along the water. It was pretty, And again, everybody was friendly, really cool. Everybody having a good time, Saw some nice fireworks. It's got some nice pictures of it. I stayed there a little later than I was thinking of doing. But then I was heading back, and normally I go a certain way, and I was going to go all the way back to Portion Road and then go to the train. That's not Portion Road. What is that road? Hawkins Avenue. But I decided to go down a different road, and something happened that really kind of sent me a message not to give up on America. So I was walking along the road, and I saw this flag, very similar to the one I had, lying in the middle of the road. I picked it up and rescued it from being run over by a car. And And it's just like, don't give up on America. People fought. You cannot give up. You cannot give up. All right. And look, Canada is, I feel, in a lot of ways better run. The people seem friendly, but it's still not America, right? It doesn't have the history we have. All right, the flag's a maple leaf. All right, that's kind of boring. All right, I like our flag better, right? And they don't have pine barrens. Sorry, Canada. You don't have pine barrens, right? And you don't have states. The United States is a unique country because we have all these states with all the different. That's another thing that Trump is trying to violate is the sovereign rights of states to exist. States are almost like little countries within themselves. The idea of the United States is that the federal government is supposed to play a small decentralized role, all right? And that is the states have the right to control their own destiny, all right? So when Trump sends in the National Guard to California, that is a violation of California's sovereignty. Trump doesn't respect that. He doesn't care about that. And this is a very Republican principle, by the way. Historically, it's always been the Democrats that favor a stronger central government. But Trump is a fascist. All right. So this is what goes on. Um, so states have a right to their sovereignty, and the federal government can't just send the military in when they don't agree with something the state is doing. Um, there is a constitution. There are laws, obviously, in the federal government. Obviously, I'm not saying states should violate those laws, but at the same time, California was not violating any laws, and it inflamed those protests over ICE way more. And then we have ICE coming in and just rounding people up. We have a process of law and order in this country. If somebody breaks the law, there is a process. The police have to identify themselves. They shouldn't be wearing masks. Doesn't matter whether they're ICE or any police. They have to. There's a process of law and order in this country. So, and again, we're seeing Trump violate all those things. And when they passed that bill in the House and they started chanting USA, USA, I got very upset because, again, that bill is an attack on me. And I sort of took it personally and I got very upset over it. But then I realized later on that they don't represent America. They represent oligarchy. They don't represent what America's about. They represent greed, selfishness, and everything wrong. And I just wish more and more people would realize, look, this isn't a Republican versus Democrat issue. This is a United States law and order and constitutional issue that we have going on, all right? And we have an executive branch that is basically controlling everything. Because Trump put his people in the Supreme Court, they're just going along with what he says. And this is a big problem. This is a big problem. And no, socialists and liberals are not the answer to this problem either, although I made a video a while back talking about how Zohran Mamdani won the primary and for the Democratic primary in the city. But the problem is Zohran Mamdani. Now he's been getting a lot of hate, and a lot of it has nothing to do with his political platform. It has to do with racism. All right, that's the way I feel about it because it's interesting that I don't see that kind of hate directed toward Bernie Sanders, who happens to be white. It's kind of interesting. But beside the point is that Zohran Mamdani, he talks about a lot of the inequality and the stuff that I talk about, fairness and going against housing discrimination. I don't think he's going to be very good on crime. That's a concern. That's a concern. Like the people I wanted to see Scott Stringer or Brad Landers, people with experience, but people like Scott Stringer. By and far my favorite. He's the only candidate who said, we're going to put a cop on every train. And that's the next thing I'm going to talk about in this video. Something happened to me yesterday on the Long Island Railroad. A homeless person almost attacked me on the train. This was on the Babylon branch. Just goes to proof you're not safe anywhere. I got on the last car at Belmore. I was heading to Freeport to go to Jones Beach, and this homeless guy is like walking from the front of the train toward me. This big, very disheveled looking guy, big guy, not the kind of guy you want to mess with. Dirty clothes, and he walks up to me, he's like, "You better give me $2 or I'm gonna knock you out." And I just try to walk past him. This is like by the doorway, and then as I'm walking away from the doorway, he shoves me. Um, and I just got the hell out of there. And I'm like, this is a person who shouldn't be out on the streets. Um, Mental health, obviously, somebody who's very mentally disturbed, who should be in an institution or some kind of housing setting that's controlled. But again, we're not seeing any action on this. Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, has been a huge failure in this, as you know. I cannot stand her. I call her the Wicked Witch. She's an awful governor. Cuomo was better. Cuomo had a lot of corruption. I'm not going to lie, right? But I don't remember crime being so bad when Cuomo was a governor. I really don't. I really don't. And there's been a lot of cuts to mental health. So they keep cutting it. Now we have this horrible bill that passed that's going to make it even worse. And then more of these people are going to be on the streets, and it's going to get more dangerous. And no one is safe. I saw homeless guys sleeping in Babylon. I've seen them in Massapequa. They're all over now, man. Hochul is destroying the entire state, all right? And we're going to have a governor election next year, and I really hope that Hochul is not the Democratic nominee, because I can't bring myself to vote for her. But at the same time, I can't vote for a MAGA person either. Both Mike Lawler and Elise Stefanik, the two candidates that were thinking possibly running against Hochul on the Republican line, both voted for that horrible, big, ugly bill. I can't vote for anyone who's voted for that big, ugly bill. So the very few Republicans I like. I think Ed Romaine is probably the only one I like. Suffolk County executive. But other than that, what can I say? Our country is in dire straits right now. People need to wake up and see what's going on. We need to protest. We need to demand that Congress honor its oath, and I've said it a million times before, impeach Donald Trump, remove him from office, convict him. All right? But until we see massive protests filling the streets, what we've seen is like, let's just say it this way. What we've seen is like a penny paying for something that's $1. People need to bring it up a lot more than what they're doing. I think people here are just too into themselves to realize how bad things are. Again, it's all about the money. It's all about, maybe it's just coming from me because I live on Long Island, that people here are very materialistic. Maybe it's not like that in other areas, but it just finds that people are just into themselves. And it's hard to meet anyone. It's hard to meet a female because they all seem very materialistic. They're onto the status. They want the rich guys. A lot of them have that way of talking, which I can't stand. But it's, what can I say? But like I said, I love my country. I love America. I'm an American. I'm an American citizen. All right. I can't be Canadian. I can't be another country because I was born in America. All right. We're all Americans. Doesn't matter the color of our skin, our disability, our sexual orientation. We all need to be treated like Americans. But unfortunately, we have an administration out there that's not treating everybody very fairly at all. And like I said, if people want to really change things, you're going to have to bring it. All right. More protests. All right. Way more protests. Fill the streets of Washington. Once the pressure gets so great, Congress will do something. Of course, we do have the midterm elections next year. All right. So definitely we could do that. Definitely flip Congress. to Democrats, and hopefully they can do something. But it's Trump, with every day he's in office, just does more and more damage, trying to drag us into a war, or again, all these things that he said he was against, he's doing. Um, you know, and look, this isn't. I'm somebody who tends to be an independent person. Um, I I mean, I'm not really big on parties, and obviously, I feel there's corruption in both parties. The Democrats have their own corruption. I think there's a lot of, Wall Street's involved with both parties, Democrats and Republicans. We've seen those Wall Street Democrats time and time again. That's why they don't like Zohran Mamdani, because he's not a Wall Street Democrat. But the problem is, I don't think his policies are going to help the crime situation. That's my concern in the city. I mean, every day there's attacks on the subway. It's dangerous. We know that, and I feel it's going to get worse because these are the people who brought you bail reform, raised the age, and all that other stuff, which has been terrible. All right. Of course, I believe in giving people a second chance. If they've done one crime, okay, but if you've got a long, long rap sheet and you just keep doing crime, you belong in jail. All right. Um, it's that simple. We're a dangerous society. And maybe if we're stricter with that, maybe less people would do crime because there would be punishments and they would realize. But if we keep giving people a slap on the wrist every time they commit crime, then they're going to keep committing crime. It's kind of a psychological thing. It doesn't really take a genius to figure that out, obviously. The other angle of it, of course, is we've got to improve the mental health situation. All right, we've got to stop treating people with mental disabilities like crap. All right, in this country, and especially in New York, because again, the housing situation and all that other stuff. How I'm stuck in this place, this hot place with a brick wall view. It's terrible for mental health, terrible for my physical health, but it's my only option here on Long Island because of the housing crisis. And this is where I feel, all right, we do need to do something about the cost of housing, and at least be more like New Jersey. I think New Jersey has done a lot better in that regard with the Mount Laurel doctrine, requiring every community to have affordable housing. We need the same thing in New York. For a state, New York, that claims itself to be so democratic and to the left, the states that are generally more in the middle, like New Jersey, seem to do a better job at that. But I don't want to leave Long Island. I don't want to have to ever go live in New Jersey. The thought of that makes me very upset. So I keep fighting because I have to. I have to. Um, and I don't want my channel being about these kind of videos. I really don't. This is going to be my last political video for a while, a long, long time. All right. I don't want to do. I want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about the environment. I want to talk about the Pine Barrens. I don't want to talk about this other stuff. I've beaten that. You know how I feel about all these issues already. There's no sense making any more videos about this. The most important thing in my life are the Pine Barrens, obviously, um, and the United States just has so much to offer as a country, and I don't want to see it destroyed. I want, we are the only country that you can go from like a mountain climate, a cold climate, to a tropical climate. There's so many different landscapes in this country. We have so many national parks. We may not have all the transportation networks of Europe and all that stuff, but there's so much variety and diversity among the states of the United States. There's just no country like this. And there's no place else I'd rather be, despite all the problems going on. Because I'm going to end this here on a positive, try to end this positively. I really hope that there are enough people out there in the United States that will realize what's happening and do something about it. Americans have never been one to sit down and take it throughout history. Maybe it takes a little time, but honestly, I think we will rise to the challenge and we will take down this corrupt administration and take our country back from this dictator that he thinks he's a dictator. But we're going to take our country back. We're going to return to the people. We don't know who. We don't know if it's going to be Democrat. We don't know if it's going to be an independent or maybe even another Republican. We don't know. But the bottom line is we are the only country with the Constitution as extensive as ours. We're the only country with this diversity of states. We have great food. Um, um, and we do have a very diverse mix of people here. And it's a challenge, but we gotta try to survive. We gotta tomorrow next year it's gonna be 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. So I think that we do need to really celebrate with taking back our country from this tyranny. Um, um, and yeah, we do have an obligation to take care of each other. All right. Criminals, yeah, they need to be locked up. Illegal aliens, they need to be out. All right. But for the American citizens and the legal immigrants and everybody else living in this country, we all deserve to be treated fairly and equally. Um, doesn't matter. And we do need to do a lot more about mental health in this country. That a lot of crime probably stems from those mental health issues as well. And we need an administration that cares about mental health in this country. We haven't seen that. Like I said, I think the last really decent president we had was Obama. Um, Biden was just out of it. All right. We all know how horrible Trump is. The worst, obviously. But we need somebody who's going to care about everybody. Honestly, I think somebody like John F. Kennedy, he was like before my time, but he was an amazing president. One of the best we've ever had. And it's a shame what happened to him. He was one of the best we ever had. I'm hoping that someday maybe we can have somebody like that in the White House again. But anyway, that wraps up this video again. I'm not going to be doing any more of these for quite some time. All right. So I just wanted to get my message across, get my message out there to all of you, and I hope you all had a great 4th of July. And well, I didn't see any professional fireworks displays yet. I'm hoping the weather cooperates Friday or Saturday. I think there's some on Long Beach and Rockville Center I'm going to go to. Yeah, we're the only country that does fireworks on Independence Day. Come on, you can't beat that, right? So, look, I'm an American. I love Canada too. Canada's a great country, but I'm an American, and America needs us right now. So, thank you for watching. God bless America.